New torch in from Rofis. This has been sent to me directly via the company. It's the TR15, which is their latest model in their transformer lineup. This has the swivel head function, so I was quite interested to look at this model. Just go through the packaging very quickly just to show you what that looks like. On the side they'll give you an idea of the multi-use with this torch and some quick specs. Up to 700 lumens on this torch. That's with the lithium cells. And on the back we have more detailed information. Now, as well as the 14500, you can use normal AA as well, and I'll be doing some tests later on with both types of cell. Included hand strap is the same as other Rofis hand straps that I've used. You have the adjuster in the middle too, good quality, and you get a couple of extra spare O-rings. You get a warranty card. Rofis have increased their warranty around about 5 years, so they're in line with other makers now. And this goes through the operation a bit more detail as well as the features. You'll notice you can also use the 1.5 volt AA lithium cells. Now this part covers the operation in a bit more detail. You also have the output and runtime, and I'll zoom in a bit closer. You'll notice we have different figures at the 3 power levels for nickel metal hydride or 1.5 volt cells or lithium cells, so they vary in the output, and we'll show you those later on just so you can see how much that differs. This covers the operation again, and we'll start by taking a look at the torch. We'll get onto that finally. Very nice build on this, just like the other Rofis torches, nice and solid, very chunky feel, lots of knurling on the body and on the base cap. I have to say it's not the smallest AA torch that I've used, but I am quite impressed with the build on this. And there's the swivel head function there that swivels 90 degrees. That's their standout feature on this range. A bit closer look up there with the button. It's recessed slightly so it doesn't get pushed by accident. Swivel the head back up. You can also remove the clip if you wish, reverse that around, although personally I would leave it in its normal position. You could also rotate it around just to avoid the switch if you wish. It's a nice enough extra option to have. Personally I leave it in the standard position. Base is magnetic. Quite a strong magnet in there, and I'll unscrew this. The sample I got did come with a 14500 lithium cell. There's the magnet in the bottom. You can also take that out if you want to. This is rated to 800 milliamps an hour. I believe you can buy it without a lithium cell. I will be testing that later on. Inside the contact point, you notice the case is very thick, and I quite like that myself. Gives it a nice beefy feel in the hand. Inserting a nickel metal hydride cell, it's a bit more space. Now this uses an XP-L HI V3, and they've gone for a textured reflector, so I'm expecting the light to spread out quite a bit on this. Operation, single press on and off. If you push and hold, you will enter into the lockout mode. Push and hold again to get out of that. Pretty useful feature, even though the button's recessed in case you're in a pocket or something like that. Stops it getting activated. And running through the power, you can just hold it down briefly or for a long period of time and let go, and then triple press takes you onto the strobe modes. You have 3 strobes with this. Rofis like their strobe modes. You have the normal strobe, beacon and an SOS, and we'll be taking a look at them outside with some beam shots as well. Just comparing it to the Olight S1A Baton. Reason for that is they both take AAs and lithium cells. You can see that the Rofis is a bit bigger, not so much when it's folded down the top head. The diameter is definitely larger though. Don't find it a problem myself. Looking at the other models in the TR range, we have the 10 on the left, and on the right side is the 18, which is a 18650. So the 15 slots right in between these two, and I think it makes sense from a model lineup perspective to have the TR15 there. Comparing it to the TR10, the diameter of the body is the same. They could have possibly made it a bit smaller. You can see the TR10 is still the smallest torch in the range. I liked that torch. A couple of small points that used to catch a bit on the clip when you unscrewed it, but that didn't particularly bother me. And they both have the textured reflector, so you're going to be getting a pretty similar output from these. When the battery is low on lithium cells, it flashes red. You don't get that warning on nickel metal hydride. It will just step down. And the battery came in good performance, above spec, 837 milliamps an hour. Standard waterproof test that I do, half an hour, no problems at all. And we move on to some beam shots. We can see here nice diffused spread with the beam, and you'd expect that with the texture reflector. I'm about 10 foot away from a wall testing this. Now I'm running my tests in both types of cell, the nickel metal hydride first, and we'll step up the power to the higher level. The AA nickel metal hydride is not going to get massive power. You're going to be around about 200 lumens, but it's still fairly decent output for everyday use. And on the lithium ions, different power levels on this. It has higher power ratings at all stages, and right at the top level they rate it at 700 lumens. You can see very nice output on that. Pay attention to the edges as well, because I'm comparing it to the S1A. This has the same output regardless of lithium or nickel metal hydride. That's the nickel metal hydride, and then to the lithium you can see you have a bigger spot in the middle. That's with the optical lens, but a bit less spread on the outside. Up close on the low mode, they rate it to 10 lumens with the nickel metal hydride. Personally, I would have preferred a moonlight mode. As you can see, quite a difference with the lithium ion in the low mode. That's quite a bit higher, real world higher that is, and I'll compare it to the S1A. Moonlight is very low, you barely see it, and then the low mode, so the TR15 is pretty much the same as the Olight in the low mode. We're on to the wide angle test with a nickel metal hydride cell. This is about 55-60 foot down to the bottom of the garden, and you get pretty decent illumination with this with a normal nickel metal hydride. On the lithium ion, it starts a bit higher. The mid level is a bit under the highest level on the nickel metal hydride, and then up to the top. It really spreads out very nicely once you hit the top power setting with that textured reflector. You get a very wide angle on that. And compare it again to the S1A. With that TIR optical lens, that gives a slightly different beam pattern compared to the reflector. It gives a much larger diffused central area. It still has quite a bit of spread, but it doesn't push as much light as the texture reflector does to the edges. And I'll compare the two, starting on the TR15 onto the Olight, and then we'll move back to the Rofis. Not much to tell between them in power output, they're pretty close as you would expect. Onto the strobes, you have a fast and a slow with the normal strobe mode. Then the beacon, quite like that. Again, you're going to use these perhaps in an emergency situation, but I do like the fact that they have included different ones. Some makers only have one. Onto the SOS now. It's just a nice extra little feature that you have. I personally don't use them that often, but the normal strobe could be useful if someone's trying to attack you or something. You could disorientate them. Now I'm on to the low mode with the nickel metal hydride, and I'm not uncomfortable using this because it's around about 10 lumens and the texture reflector spreads the beam pattern out, so it's not too harsh. Personally, I do miss the moonlight mode. That is something which I would have included. We're on the high level with nickel metal hydride. Out and about, this is going to be perfectly fine for most users, and I imagine a lot of people will be using a torch like this with the normal nickel metal hydride cells rather than the lithium. It's nice to have a choice though. You do get better capacity with these lithium cells in this form factor compared to this CR123A. You can see the beam pattern up close and the telephoto with the lithium ion. You're not going to get that massive intensity that you have with the 18650 torches, but there's plenty of power there if you want it. The 14500 runtime isn't bad actually, it's fairly decent. Onto the lithium ion, up to the mid, and onto the high, which it really spreads out. So there's nothing to complain about as far as the beam pattern and the power output goes. This isn't designed for range, but you're not going to have any issues up to around about 100 meters, slightly more, getting the light out there so you can see the top of the roof without any problems at all with this torch. So the power's not an area for concern. And I personally am a big fan of the swivel head. I think it's something which other makers have missed and Rofis have picked up on, and credit to them for running with the idea and bringing out a whole range of torches with that unique swivel head. As a work torch, this is really well suited to that because you can angle it around and twist it. You can also use it as a headlight or headlamp if you can get an attachment where it can slot in. So that adds a degree of versatility to the light which many others don't have, particularly if you're just base standing it upwards. Normal light just throws the light up. This you can swivel the head around so you can actually see what you're doing, and that is a big plus for me. I will talk about the negatives. Firstly, I find that the lack of moonlight is a downer. I'm a bit disappointed in that. That's something that I would personally have changed myself, or at least a level that was lower, 1 or 2 lumens, and I'd prefer to have the lithium ion and nickel metal hydride power levels the same. That's less of an issue to me than the moonlight mode, which I think should have been included and detracts a little bit from the overall package. Saying that, there are some significant positives. You've got very good build quality. The swivel head is obviously going to appeal to a lot of people, and you also have a choice of different power sources as well as those extra strobe modes. So worthwhile having this in their model lineup. Don't forget to check out some of my other torch reviews, and I will catch up with you very shortly in my next video review.